Have you ever felt it? The unshakable, bone-deep conviction that your very presence is forcing shadows to flee and secrets to unravel? If you've ever walked into a room and felt the energy alter quickly, or observed some individuals get nervous and avoid your stare for reasons you couldn't understand, this message is not a coincidence. It's heavenly confirmation. The spiritual experiences you've been experiencing are not your imagination. They are incontrovertible proof of the vast, genuine spiritual authority that is inside you, an ancient force that is now waking to fulfill its cosmic destiny. What you are going to hear will shed light on the covert spiritual conflicts taking place around you and disclose the horrifying truth about why the forces of evil quiver at the mere mention of your name. Prepare yourself, for you are about to realize the full extent of your divine assignment. The unmistakable scent of spiritual conflict. Every time you pass her door, the scent lingers in the corridor, a constant and intrusive reminder of her secret existence. It's a peculiar, unique, and completely recognizable aroma, a cloying and complicated blend of burning plants, exotic resins, and something else, something vaguely metallic and bitter, reminiscent of rites performed in desperation rather than devotion. This aroma has stuck tenaciously to her residence, clothing, and even presence for months, serving as a persistent, quiet proclamation of her practices. What she decides to do behind closed doors is, on the surface, her own business. However, in this close-knit society, where lives are intertwined like threads in a tapestry, secrets have a peculiar and persistent habit of emerging, sometimes during the most fleeting and unexpected of accidental meetings. You can see it in the way her eyes meet yours across the shared lawn or along the tight hallway. It's an explosive mix of emotions, a shocked recognition, a sharp edge of defiance, and a deep, seething challenge. It's an implicit, high-stakes conversation, a subtle acknowledgement that you, with your enhanced spiritual senses, have noticed her activities. You didn't need to see her altars or hear her incantations. You knew her truth from that one unmistakable aroma, a spiritual fingerprint she couldn't erase. A new tension has emerged between you, perceptible and tangible as a physical wall. It is subtle, yet it is also forceful and irrefutable, buzzing in the air whenever you are close together. Because she may not yet understand that your role in this community extends beyond that of a resident. Your presence conveys an inherent power that extends beyond local groups and societal structures. The council, made up of spiritually discerned individuals, listens closely when you speak, their hearts sensing the vibration of truth in your voice. Your neighbors, even those who can't explain why, intuitively trust your judgment, sense a purity and integrity in you that seems like a safe haven. And you, prompted by this holy duty, have already began the quiet, critical talks, not spreading gossip, but rather sowing seeds of discernment, accumulating support, and forming a consensus on what must finally be addressed. She has recently watched you with a fearful, hunted glance, the confidence she previously carried shredded and frail. Perhaps she is now seeing the terrible certainty of what is to come. Perhaps she knows, deep down, that her time in the shadows of this place is coming to an end, and that she will soon, very soon, face the consequences of bringing her compromised practices into a community that is now protected by authentic light. Echoes of divine judgment. She is now unable to sleep at all. Your neighbor lays awake night after night. Her body tense with worry as she looks at the merciless ceiling. Her mind runs, repeating every small meeting, every exchanged gaze, and every time she felt the overwhelming intensity of your spiritual presence. She wonders, with fear in her core, whether this is the night. Will today be the night you finally decide to bring down fire from heaven on her doorstep? Or, even more terrifyingly, will your quiet, persistent prayers ultimately pierce her carefully crafted veils, exposing every hidden nook of her spiritual offenses to the harsh, merciless light of pure truth? Peace, a commodity she always took for granted, has completely abandoned her home. Her house, once a safe haven for her covert labor, now seems like a jail of her own design, haunted by the phantom of your rule. This deep discomfort started the instant you entered her land, bearing with you the undeniable, dazzling aura of genuine spiritual authority. It's a light that needs no introduction, yet it lights all it touches. Her actions are suddenly clipped and secretive, rather than flowing and confident. Observe how she meticulously, even compulsively, timed her departures and arrivals to avoid crossing your path in the corridor. Notice how she feigns a sudden, deep interest in her phone the moment you enter a shared area, her whole body tensing as she tries to avoid your stare. See how she invents fresh and more feeble excuses to skip community events, which she formerly seemed to rule with her subtle influence. These are hardly the habits of a person with a good conscience. These are the desperate, frantic actions of a soul that is certain that they are fully and utterly exposed before eyes that see far beyond the physical sphere, eyes that comprehend the reality of the spirit. Her dread of you goes beyond normal worry or neighborhood friction. It is a basic, spiritual horror that is both profound and terrifying. It is the old dread of darkness in the presence of pure, unadulterated light. She senses in you something she has only heard whispered about in her darkest, most clandestine circles. A real carrier of spiritual light, a divinely ordained sentinel whose very presence serves as a strong acid to her carefully crafted illusions and weak power structures. Your footsteps on the sidewalk outside echoed in her frantic imagination like the approaching Judgment Day. Even your most casual, cordial welcomes, made with a pure heart, seem magnificent to her guilty conscience, each word weighing heavily on her soul like a final conviction. Her paranoia has turned the script. She is monitoring your every move, following when you enter and exit from behind her closed curtains. She is documenting your guests and attempting to determine the nature of your affiliations. She is keeping an eye on your spiritual activities, trying to figure out where your unbreakable strength comes from. She does this not to harm you. Oh, she knows better than to even try, but because she is desperate to protect herself, anticipating the precise moment when your growing awareness will finally crystallize into direct action against the spiritual pollution she has brought to your shared community. A reputation forged in heavenly fire. Meanwhile, your name is spoken in hushed, anxious tones across the village and beyond. People murmur in dimly lit rooms, over cups of bitter tea, and behind clouds of incense smoke, about the person who moved into Maple Street. Stories are told, each more amazing than the last, of how no spell, bond, or curse seems to attach to you. They describe with dread and amazement how 3 separate practitioners, each of whom was confident and well-known in their communities, mistakenly attempted to bind your energy or muddy your path, and how all 3 met fast, catastrophic, and poetically just disasters within days of their efforts. The person who attempted to link your funds discovered her own accounts strangely locked. The person who sought to foment conflict in your connections saw her own affiliations crumbling to dust. Your reputation now precedes you, a legendary and terrifying presence even in circles you have never visited. The underground network of practitioners in your region pulses with tense, frenetic energy. It's a frenzied web of encrypted text messages flying back and forth at all hours, emergency meetings convened in secret locales, and hushed, urgent warnings spread like a virus. Everyone is being taught the same thing. Stay away from the one who can detect their kind and walks in unwavering brightness. Your neighbor now attends at these secret parties, a pariah by association, drinking a glass of wine with shaky hands. Her voice, once so confident, now rattles as she recalls her own unsettling personal experiences. She explains how you can see right through her carefully maintained masquerade, her pleasant neighbor character, and into the heart of her spiritual transactions, finding her lacking. Just last week, she was visited by another practitioner from across town, a lady recognized for her boldness and strength. For hours, they sat in her dimly lit living room, trading tales not just about you, but also about others like you they had met or heard about. Their stories were laden with a deep, tangible worry about the terrible, life-altering repercussions that have befallen people who were foolish enough to direct bad energy towards spirits protected by heavenly power. Their voices fell to frightened whispers as they listed particular incidents, detailing the destruction, loss, and spiritual devastation that accompanied every effort to destroy the divinely ordered. Your mere name has become a cautionary tale, a boogeyman in their inner circles, and this is all before you have taken any direct, deliberate action against any of them. Simply being true to yourself and living in your mission causes significant waves across the community's spiritual underbelly. The sheer weight of your own realized potential scares them more than any overt action you may take. They detect the latent, coiled power inside you, a sleeping giant of divine energy, quietly awaiting the moment of divine ignition. The visiting practitioner leaned across the kitchen table, her eyes wide with terror and reverence, her speech scarcely audible. "Let this one be," she cautioned. "Others have tried. Others have failed. The divine protection around this one is impenetrable, and any blowback doesn't just sting, it utterly destroys the sender." Your neighbor nodded slowly, her mind flashing back with a sickening lurch to the moment she almost accepted a lucrative commission from a jealous party to work against you, only to realize just in time who you truly are and how terrifyingly close she came to sealing her own spiritual fate. Your divine mandate's unstoppable effect. Your spiritual power does not need a proclamation, a great event, or an official declaration. It does not need a certificate or title. It radiates gently and forcefully from you with each breath and stride you take. It is embedded into the fundamental fabric of your existence. Even the earth under your feet seems to acknowledge your existence and purpose. The air around you resonates at a different, higher frequency, and creation reacts to the clear proof of divine appointment etched throughout your spiritual DNA. The practitioner next door can feel her own strength, which she has spent years nurturing, dwindle and wither whenever you are around. Her tools lose their effectiveness. Her rituals fail and sputter out. Her once steady links to the energy she works with fade and become distorted, like static-filled radio transmissions. Your very presence in the area has radically altered the spiritual climate, boosting the vibratory frequency far beyond what her compromised and fear-based methods are capable of handling. Deep down, she dreads the inevitable time when you will devote your whole, undivided attention to her. She fears the day you will intentionally turn your spiritual power in her direction and deliver words of divine judgment. She is scared of the moment when you get up at a community meeting and publicly declare what you have long suspected in private. She knows, with perfect surety, that when your private, protected prayers are ultimately turned into public, authoritative proclamations, her power, practices, and presence in this location will come to an end. Your spiritual power is not derived from a government badge, institutional credential, or corporate endorsement, yet it surpasses all of these worldly things together. It comes straight from a higher source, an everlasting appointment, a heavenly choice that was inscribed in the stars before you were born and will last long after your earthly journey is over. This is the kind of authority that makes principalities and powers quiver, and that is why practitioners like your neighbor stay up at night. The rest of the community feels it as well, even if they are unable to describe what has changed. They just realize that something has profoundly changed since your arrival. The air seems lighter, fresher, and full of optimism. Malevolent forces that formerly silently ruled community dynamics and fostered strife are quickly losing their grip. Certain people who used to wield power over communal choices via manipulation and terror are now more marginalized and disregarded. It's as if a gradual, quiet wave of cleansing has begun to emanate from your own being, spreading outward from your home like a stone dropped into still, dark water, removing the murkiness and exposing the truth underneath. A moment for the God Connection family. Pause for a minute. Choose one. If this message resonates deeply inside your soul, if you sense a vibration of truth in these words that confirms your own experiences, you are a part of a spiritual awakening. Here's your tale. At God Connection, our aim is to be a light for souls like you, providing clarity and strength on your path. If you feel compelled to assist this holy effort, we respectfully encourage you to get more involved in this ministry. First, please subscribe to God Connection and enable all alerts. This guarantees you never miss a communication intended for you and helps our family grow. Second, if this work has benefited you and you want to plant a seed in this ministry, please consider making a $10 payment using the Super Thanks button located just below this video. Every gift, no matter how large or little, is a tremendous act of faith that allows us to keep this holy place flowing with truth, light, and divine clarity, reaching more souls who are lost and in need of guidance. Your contributions are a concrete gift that drives our work. Now let us proceed with the heavenly message. Fortress of Light and Divine Mirror. Each morning, while you sit in meditation or prayer, you are actively engaged in spiritual combat. You may sense the spiritual barriers around your house, life, and loved ones becoming stronger, taller, and more impenetrable. With each conscious breath and concentrated intention, you strengthen a heavenly barrier of light, preventing negativity, psychic assault, and demonic influence from crossing your threshold. Every genuine prayer you give is another golden brick in an indestructible barrier of heavenly protection. Each one strengthens the spiritual barrier that protects your holy area from any evil that wants to enter. When you consult your holy writings, their ancient knowledge adds another layer of heavenly protection to your aura, surrounding you in timeless truths that shine like unbreakable armor against all unseen forces. Every sincere act of worship, every true statement of appreciation or praise, sends forth strong waves of bright light. This produces a highly pure light that softly uncovers and destroys hidden pockets of darkness across the neighborhood, purifying the spiritual environment well beyond your own property line. You do not need to target your neighbor. You do not need to concentrate on her directly or perform any counter-rituals. The holy fire that you cultivate inside yourself is intelligent. It understands exactly what has to be cleaned and what must be kept, all without your conscious interference or micromanagement. Your sole responsibility is to stay true to your mission, discipline your daily spiritual activities, and allow your divine abilities to flow freely. The cleansing effects will happen naturally, guided by a knowledge much larger than your own. The spiritual shield that surrounds you functions as a perfect, holy mirror. It is a holy principle, a cosmic rule of divine reflection and action that operates spontaneously, whether you are conscious of it or not. It does more than simply deflect bad intents or energy directed at you. It also reflects them back to the source, sometimes intensified, allowing the sender to learn from the repercussions of their own actions. Those who have mistakenly attempted to test this concept in the past, seeking to breach your spiritual shelter, have been greeted with rapid, sometimes severe repercussions that served as a harsh but essential reminder. Your neighbor is well aware of these warning stories. She has heard the whispered tales of others who ventured to confront or injure spirits like yours, only to find their own life unraveling, their own power destroyed, leaving them spiritually humbled and permanently scarred by sorrow. That is exactly why she has prudently decided not to add her name to the lengthy and expanding list. Your house is now a sanctuary in the best meaning of the word, a sanctified area where divine truth reigns supreme and deceit, fraud, and malevolence cannot take root or survive. With each passing day, the barrier between your home and hers gets more sharp and definite, creating a psychic border that even individuals without spiritual sensitivity may feel in their bones. Anyone who moves from her domain to yours feels an evident change. The air becomes lighter, the psychological strain dissipates, and a tangible serenity descends over their whole body. The environment itself attests to the dramatic difference, giving mute testimony to the invisible border formed and maintained by your unwavering spiritual leadership. The crossroads of the soul. Meanwhile, your neighbor has reached a watershed moment in her spiritual path, spurred by your presence. She confronts an inescapable, life-changing decision. The path ahead of her clearly divides, offering only two destinations. One is the difficult road of genuine spiritual transformation, repentance, and realignment with the light. The other is the path of retreat, forcing her to relocate and start over somewhere else, away from your purifying influence. There is no middle ground for her. There is no room for compromise. Your presence, your brightness, has made it difficult for her to continue as she previously did, securely riding the boundary between light and shade. Watch for small but significant evidence of her severe emotional struggle as she makes this big choice. You may have noticed the sudden arrival of religious symbols about her house that were not before there, an odd and clumsy effort to portray an image of holiness. You can feel the anxious, frenzied energy in her motions, the moves of someone urgently attempting to keep their world together. All of these are the quiet indications of a soul trapped in the crossfire between its old, familiar routines and the clear, scary temptation to embrace something higher, truer. Spiritual books with titles like Redemption and Light have started to appear prominently on her coffee table, their covers facing outward, as if on show for any passing visitors. You observe her tentative, uncomfortable attempts to participate in good community activities, helping here and there, her smile always cautious and tight, her eyes always searching for your response, yearning for any indication of acceptance or censure. These exterior changes, although modest and apparently trivial, are the outward manifestations of a profound interior conflict, a soul torn between who she has been and who she is scared of having to become. Within her, the practitioner wrestles with the legitimacy of her whole chosen path, wondering for the first time if her path actually serves her soul or has merely led her into a gilded cage. Her once comforting and supporting network now seems remote, critical, and unsure. "You live next to that one?" they ask her, their voices a weird, unnerving combination of awe and pity, as if just being near you casts a harmful shadow from which she cannot escape. Invitations from her spiritual community are becoming less regular. Their combined efforts, which were previously a source of her power and identity, are now conducted without her. Beneath the surface of their justifications is an unconscious, basic dread of cross-contamination, a deep-seated concern that your powerful and enigmatic influence will pass through her and affect their neatly managed life. As a result, her spiritual separation grows, despite the fact that she stays physically near to you, the root of her dilemma. She does, without a doubt, fantasize about leaving at times. She imagines herself in a remote, nameless town where no divinely chosen individuals live, a location where her practices may continue unabated and her distinct spiritual aroma can fade undetected into the background cacophony. Despite these escape ideas, something tremendous keeps her here. Perhaps it's a sprouting, delicate seed of real interest about the underlying source of your strength. Or perhaps she has just gotten tired of the incessant deception, dread, and spiritual tiredness. Perhaps she is finally reacting to the faint but rising pull of genuine spiritual hunger, the first cautious, hesitant step toward a reality she can no longer reject. The ancient cosmic dance. Even in her agony, she recognizes the tremendous irony of the situation. In her frantic attempt to hide her spiritual aroma from you, she has unintentionally began the deep process of cleansing it. Your quiet, observing presence has sparked enormous fear in her, prompting her to make minor but important adjustments that she would not have considered before your arrival. Without a single word of dispute, accusation, or public humiliation, your quiet spiritual power has done more than any open fight could. Your consistent, silent example encourages deep internal introspection, which may lead to deliberate, long-term reform. It is critical that you understand that this arrangement of spirits, this apparently random sharing of a corridor and a community, has a purpose that goes well beyond neighborhood politics or simple happenstance. The cosmos, under God's divine guidance, does not take souls lightly. There are always greater, more complex spiritual goals at play. Your living arrangement, your uncanny closeness to her, was never an accident. Your souls have very definitely crossed paths before, maybe spanning decades or across realms, bound in a complicated spiritual dynamic that neither of you consciously recalls, but that both of your spirits intuitively sense. This old link explains the sudden, unexplainable tension, gut-level recognition, and bizarre combination of dislike and interest that arose the minute you met. Ancient spiritual dynamics are not lost with each new incarnation. The soul recalls what the conscious mind has forgotten. Long before you signed your lease or unloaded your belongings, the spiritual sentinels in this neighborhood felt your presence. The highly attuned gathered around midnight, whispering and prophesying about your coming. Authentic seers saw you in their visions and said, "One comes who will change the spiritual atmosphere. One who will disrupt the old patterns of compromise and spiritual slumber." Your coming was noted on cosmic calendars unseen by human sight. Your neighbor, the practitioner, knew you right away since your face, energy, and essence had previously presented to her in dreams and trance states. Long before you met in the outer world, she was acquainted with your spiritual signature. The shock for her was not meeting a stranger, but finally coming face to face with a well-known and tremendous cosmic force rendered alive. This heavenly appointment is not just for you and her. It is the intended spark for a whole community's spiritual reformation. The impacts extend far beyond your own doorway, altering the energy and providing a choice to every soul within reach. Genuine searchers in the community will be highlighted and pulled to their own progress with fresh clarity. Meanwhile, deceivers and pretenders will find their masks sliding, their carefully manufactured illusions crumbling, and their shadows revealed by your widespread light. The cosmic consequences of your closeness are more profound than either of you can completely realize at this time. The great capacity you have to perceive, identify, and smell spiritual corruption was never a new talent. It is the tremendous awakening of an old, spiritual lineage that is inside your innermost being. Throughout history, some people have borne the same divine appointment, the holy gift of discernment, the grave responsibility to identify what others fiercely strive to conceal. Your spiritual forefathers stood in temple courtyards, distinguishing genuine devotion from meaningless ceremony. They went among sellers in busy markets and could detect spiritual counterfeits instantly. They even made their way into the highest royal courts, delivering the raw truth when others would only charm and mislead. This precious heritage of divine discernment has been passed down through millennia, a golden thread of truth and light that is now revealing itself in you. The final call for transformation. The practitioner next door is keenly, painfully aware of the old authority that emanates from your own essence. In a recent late-night conversation with her fellow practitioner, as the wine glasses emptied and the shadows in the room lengthened, their conversation circled back and forth around the remarkable, almost palpable age of your soul. "This one has lived through countless cycles," her friend said, her voice lowered in fear and profound awe. "Just look into those eyes. There is a depth there, a wisdom that has weathered centuries. They perceive with a primordial instinct that transcends words what you may just be starting to realize: the deep antiquity and indestructible nature of the spiritual mandate you bear. This is why, with little conscious effort on your part, practitioners in remote places may detect your energy signature. It explains how your reputation precedes you in spiritual circles you've never visited, why your name is whispered in places you've never been, and why 3 different women approached your neighbor to work against you over a specific relationship, only to be turned down each time, despite the promise of significant payment. The old soul inside her sensed the kindred, ancient force in you, and even among individuals with opposing alignments, there is a subtle, reciprocal acknowledgement across spiritual borders. This type of strong spiritual strain, this forced coexistence of genuine and false energy, cannot last eternally. Eventually, the competing frequencies must be resolved. The cosmos determines when and how this conclusion will take place, and its timing is always ideal, unfolding only when everyone involved benefits the most spiritually. Your serious obligation in this time is to stay faithful, to continue aligning with your higher purpose, to proceed with divine patience and unwavering faith. and to be prepared for the divine moment when it occurs. However, how this resolution develops may surprise you both. Perhaps it will not be the spectacular, flaming encounter you both envisioned. Not a verbal struggle or a public censure, but something far kinder, more meaningful, and ultimately more healing. It might start with an unexpected offer of a cup of coffee, shared in an uneasy, tense quiet that gradually leads to stunning honesty and vulnerable disclosure. Perhaps there will be no vehement charges, only a deep, emotional confession or a delicate, whispered appeal for direction from her, her soul finally ripped open by the clarity and tranquility she detects in you. Divine resolves often take unexpected turns, defying our limited human notions of how spiritual problems should be resolved. Pay careful attention to the catalyst, a seemingly little, daily incident that triggers the eventual meeting. It might be a modest neighborhood emergency that forces neighbors to collaborate, or a common external danger that temporarily erases old divisions and requires togetherness. It may be anything as simple as a broken water line or a community gathering convened to address a common issue. The divine often uses these commonplace situations to set the scene for tremendous spiritual transformations, silently arranging events that result in actual transformation and a better, more beautiful harmony for all. Your sacred responsibility and eternal rewards. Your enormous gift of spiritual discernment entails an equally great spiritual duty. The capacity to discern what others cannot is not a luxury reserved for personal benefit or egoistic delight. It carries a sacred, unbreakable commitment to utilize this talent wisely, compassionately, and always in the service of a greater good. Your major responsibility is to keep your hands clean, your heart pure, your conscience clear, and your practices sincere. When the divinely designed time for interaction comes, you will understand that your obligation is to utter just the words that heaven provides you, nothing more or less. It is critical to remember that your ultimate mission is not condemnation, but emancipation. You were not brought here to destroy or throw out, but to accelerate change, elevate, and offer a chance for great benefit via spiritual realignment. When this divine rendezvous comes to fruition, the change generated by your meeting will spread far beyond the two of you, affecting people and altering circumstances you may never meet firsthand. The same network that formerly sent out urgent warnings about you will soon become the conduit via which knowledge of the resolution travels like wildfire, compelling countless other practitioners to halt and examine their own paths. Even community members who have little conscious understanding of spiritual reality may experience a physical change, a strange lightness, as if an invisible load has finally been removed. As this divinely coordinated process progresses, you will see your own spiritual abilities growing. New levels of discernment will present themselves. Your sensitivity to spiritual truths will improve, and your capacity to recognize heavenly chances will increase dramatically. This is the essence of loyal stewardship. Every spiritual job fulfilled with integrity sets the path for greater responsibility and blessing, resonating throughout eternity. This heavenly appointment was never the result of mere coincidence. It was the product of a rigorous cosmic calculation tailored to your exact spiritual endowments, your soul's complicated history, and the distinct divine commission that guides your journey. When the inevitable resolution occurs, soul contracts made before birth will be honored, and karmic patterns weaved across numerous incarnations will be finally resolved. What seems to be a fleeting neighborly connection will turn out to have long-lasting, magnificent consequences in the cosmic ledger of spiritual progress and reconciliation. That's all for today. Dear Heavenly Father, I pray for the soul that is seeing this right now. Strengthen them faith and enable them to believe you even when actual proof is lacking. Let them trust in your eternal presence, knowing you will never hurt them, for your thoughts for them are ones of prosperity, not harm, to provide them with a future and hope. Thank you, kind and everlasting Father, for your constant listening. I give my prayer to you in Jesus' holy and great name. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your unconditional love and divine provision. I am forever thankful for your presence in my life and the richness you provide. If this video spoke to you, please like it, subscribe to God Connection, and share it with others who need to hear this important message. Leave a comment on your own experience and how this term validated your feelings. And if you want to help us carry God's message to a needy world, please consider giving by clicking the Super Thanks button below the video. No present is too tiny when it comes from the heart. Your support allows us to continue creating great material and spreading light and hope to others. Do not stop here. Watch our next video for additional startling discoveries regarding the indications that indicate you are a chosen one of God. We've loved enjoying this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for sticking with us to the end. Keep shining brightly and face your heavenly destiny with confidence. See you next time. God Connection sends blessings to all lovely people.